What's up, Flick fans? We've got some movies to rank today. 14 brand new releases, new-ish, that I saw in the month of June. And it's the halfway point of 2025. And so this weekend, we're doing best and worst of the year. Stay tuned. Hit the notification bell. It's also the halfway point of the decade. And so we may have some decade lists coming out very soon. Look forward to those. But right now, we're talking movies.
My son, tell me why we fight.
Because our enemy still lives.
New movies, June movies, starting in the animation category. You know, there haven't been a lot of animated films this year. This month is the first one where we have a few to talk about, and I'm going to go Predator Killer of Killers to start us off. You know, I didn't know what this story would be from director Dan Trachtenberg, who is doing a lot of these Predator films, and the animation style, while not as slick as a Spider-Verse, it is a little different in that vein, and it had a lot to offer from an action standpoint, man. This is a big movie comprised of three little films that inevitably somewhat come together at the end in an interesting way, but we're in the midst of three different time periods as well. From Norse Viking times to a samurai ninja showdown, which was really cool, and then we get to be in the midst of the war on a plane, and that one, while not as, big set piece heavy as the first two, all three of them are jam-packed with action. And normally I don't like these episodic type movies, but I'm a big fan of Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix, and this kind of felt like that with more of a structured way of tying them in with each other. I enjoyed the animation, even though there is an element to it that makes it feel just a tad bit cheaper than your Spider-Verses, but I'm sure the budget wasn't that big. That being said, I still really enjoyed what it was offering from a visual standpoint, from a character standpoint, and I had a good time with this movie. If you're looking for something that's going to feel a lot more cohesive, one big hour, 30-minute product, this is not that film. But as a whole, I got up really early, watched this movie, and thought, I'm so entertained. And frankly, I think a lot of people were missing that with Predator. I thoroughly enjoyed Prey, but we need a couple to get us back on track. I thoroughly believe this is part of that, and I'm excited about an animated movie being on the great tier. I had a great time with this.
I don't know if this is boundary testing or sleep regression or which one of these is you?
I don't know, but I think that one is you.
And how about Elio, the brand new Pixar animated film that did not do very well at the box office? It came and went. Now, partially to blame for that is Pixar, is Disney for not doing a great job with marketing this film. And then you have the ridiculously inflated budget of this movie that was never going to earn its money back unless it had a great marketing campaign. And then the fact that they went back and reshot this, refilmed this. Things have come out in the last week because usually when a movie bombs, things come out about it not working, restructuring the story. They meant to go in this direction. Apparently people at Disney like the first version, but audiences like the second version. I'm just sitting here going, guys, would you relax? It's a film that really nailed what it was going for. The story of this kid trying to find a place to belong doesn't feel like Earth is the place for him because of everything he went through with his family. Even his new caretaker, you understand her frustrations, but at first they try to make her feel unlikable, and then you get really everything that happens on Earth comes together in a beautiful, heartfelt, and somewhat relatable way, and I love that story. Then we're in space, and that feels less cohesive, but the idea of them accepting this kid as the leader of Earth was really cute, and I loved his relationship with little worm boy. Gordon's cute. He reminds me of the caterpillar from The Bug's Life. Brad Garrett's in this movie, Zoe Saldana. Other than that, not a stacked cast, but all in all, I don't feel as if Elio deserved what it got at the box office, and I think families would thoroughly enjoy this movie. It doesn't go that extra mile like other Pixar films, but it did good enough. And because of that, I'm going to put Elio on the good tier.
It's time. The world will know you as pop stars.
Austin, what is Kpop Demon Hunters? That doesn't sound like a real film. Well, that was kind of my mentality going in. I just put out a short on this movie. I watched it to make it my 14th film of June, and frankly, I had no interest in this. I don't know much about K-pop. I hear K-pop music, I'm like, it's pretty cool. What's the next movie coming out? Admittedly, a lot of the songs are very catchy. I've just never really got invested. And so when I saw Kpop Demon Hunters, I'm like, is this like the totally spies of K-pop. Like, what are we doing? I'm not really interested. I'm a 30-year-old man, but I'm going to check this out anyway. All of those things to the side, I had a good time with this. I can't believe I'm saying that. I had a good time with this. I really enjoyed these characters. I like the idea of this generation to generation K-pop band or very talented singing group fighting demons. That's what they've been assigned to do. But there's also this generational trauma aspect to this movie. And one of our characters early on, they're dealing with something that has to do with their voice. And it all comes tumbling down, not in a devastating way, but we face the evil demonic boy band. And so it's this, female-led K-pop group up against this boy band. It was actually a lot of fun the way they handled this. Now, if the animation wouldn't have been as good, maybe I wouldn't have been as invested in the story, but it's handled in this extremely over-the-top way, this fast-paced way that reminded me of the Lego movie in that way, but from a visual standpoint, it had that Spider-Verse look to it. Again, kind of like what Predator was doing, but I'd say the animation here was better. This is Sony Animation, the team that did Spider-Verse, and so I was loving it visually. I thought this is spectacular from a visual standpoint. Now, the journey, the story, and where we get to, very generic on its surface, right? It's a conventional animated film from that standpoint, but it's what's happening along the way, and the songs, and the big song battle that we get towards the end, that made it fun, entertaining, and ultimately I thought this was a good movie. It ended up being better than certain other animated films I've seen this year, and I couldn't believe that. And so yeah, count me in as surprised. I'm going Kpop Demon Hunters on the good tier, very close to great. Next up, How to Train Your Dragon, the remake. Was this June? Yeah, I guess it was June, early June. I had a great time with this film. I genuinely did, but there is the idea that we've talked about several times on this channel of it being a remake. And yeah, of course I had a great time with it because it's almost the same exact movie, except they extended it for about 25 minutes and actually added in some elements that improved certain side characters and gave other characters little ongoing jokes along the way. And so watching the original right before this, I thought maybe it would hurt this experience. It actually kind of helped it because I was able to really compare and contrast in my mind, and they did a great job. There is the idea that stays in my head, and that's ultimately why I'm going to put this on the tier I put this on, that it is the exact same film. Now, for those that have seen the OG and are wanting that, you're going to love it. For those who want something different, you're going to be frustrated. I've seen both sides of the coin. I understand both sides. But for me, if you're going for an almost shot-for-shot remake, extending a couple of sequences, which all live-action films tend to do when they are remakes, you kind of nailed it. And the characters are great. I enjoyed this version of Hiccup. Obviously, Gerard Butler returning. That helps. The emotional moments with him were fantastic. I don't know if I would ever choose to watch this version again, but it did what it needed to do, and that's why I am putting it on the good tier. Is it kind of great? Yeah, but there's the idea that the other version is just the better version.
Do you like your dogs? I know a school where they teach dogs.
Let's talk about this film, though. The John Wick spinoff, Ana de Armas being an absolutely incredible lead. I did not think this would be as fun as it ultimately ended up being. And now, is there part of me that can feel that they went back in and did a couple of reshoots along the way? Yeah, maybe we had to shoehorn in a little bit more John Wick to make all the John Wick fans get excited. I get that, but, John Wick is awesome in this film. He's just awesome in general. If you put John Wick in any movie, it would make it better. Even like Batman. And the inevitable confrontation between the two, absolutely fantastic. But I enjoyed this movie because of how it went back to basics with that OG John Wick. And if you think about this story, it is very similar in structure to that first John Wick. Now, obviously, they go about it a different way, and she's getting sucked in. She's in it for the first time. When we see John Wick and John Wick, he's already John Wick. When we see Ana de Armas in this film, she has to slowly get to the level that she's really not even achieved her prime yet. And that's what we're hopefully fingers crossed, going to see in the next movie. But I thought she kicked so much ace in this film. My God, man, I loved the action. I had a great time with the use of grenades and using the steel door when it exploded. That was so freaking cool. The flamethrower, awesome. Were there parts of the story that I just didn't really care about? Yeah, characters that come in and then it's like, oh, why'd you make that a thing? You could have just done without that in its entirety. That almost kept this from being great. But at the end of the day, the more I thought about this, as a John Wick spinoff, it was a great version of that. As a movie, would I say this is a cinematic achievement? No. But as an experience, I think I'm going to go on the great tier for Ballerina. I'm a little surprised by that.
What the hell is this? You put me in this plastic Teletubby?
Prove you can be trusted, maybe we'll give you an upgrade.
Megan 2.0, or Intrigen 2.0, if you guys didn't see, was an absolute bomb at the box office. I didn't think it would bomb, I just had a feeling they weren't marketing this film correctly. They tried to take advantage of all of the memes and whatnot from the first film and make her this icon of sorts. And, I mean, it made $10 million opening weekend. You be the judge if she's an icon. But they shifted the genre, and I actually don't mind that. Inherently, that's not why I kind of disliked this movie, because Terminator did it, Alien did it, a lot of sci-fi movies do it, and Megan was attempting to replicate that, but take it really over the top in a fun way. This is comedic, way more comedic than the first movie. And the first movie implemented horror big time, so obviously why would you do that? But this second one is a drastically different tone. The problem is, for me, it was just like the obviousness of the story, the structure of the story, spending so much time down in that bunker, and frankly, I was really bored, and Megan has a couple of, chuckle-worthy moments, but I'm thinking to myself, are we going to ever make this plot interesting? Because you know where it's leading, inevitably going up against this other AI entity. And admittedly, that was pretty fun, but even when we get there, I felt just dissatisfied by the entire thing. And I'm not saying this is an atrocious film, a couple of great jokes. Megan herself is entertaining. I enjoyed our young girl, Katie, way more than I did Gemma, but ultimately, this film just didn't feel like it capitalized on the first, which is a movie that I also thought was okay. It wasn't great, so I just think I'm a little down on this franchise compared to some other people. That being said, not terrible. It is going on the meh tier for Megan.
Wait, sit here. Sit Auntie, what's going on? Jimmy, sit still, keep quiet, and do not move from this spot.
28 years later. SpongeBob? Anyone? No. I loved the trailer. This was one of the best trailers I've seen all decade. It may be my favorite trailer of the decade. I'd have to go back and look because there have been a lot of bangers, Oppenheimer included. But I have to look at how this film was structured and what is keeping me from thinking this is a great movie. A lot of people loved it. A lot of critics loved it, calling it the horror film of the year. I disagree with that. Calling it this masterpiece. I disagree with that. A lot of things keeping it from living up to its potential. Now, I've seen the discourse regarding the ending, and if you don't understand the ending, well, then you're just stupid. You don't get the reference, well, then you're just dumb. I've seen those complaints. I could give two shits about those complaints. I don't think the ending worked tonally with the rest of the film. I've looked at what it represents. I get what it means. I understand it, so don't. It's fine. Tonally, it just doesn't work with what came right before it. Now, you could look into it, right? I guess not on its surface, it doesn't work. What it represents, yeah, it's kind of horrifying, but at the end of the day, a lot of audience members are not going to pick up on that. And if you are doing something that goes over a large group of people's heads just to appeal to a smaller group of people, well, then you're kind of losing your audience at that point. And I just think tonally the ending does not work. It is so ridiculous compared to what came before, which was almost like this coming-of-age, beautiful, heartfelt moment with when we're introduced to Ralph Fiennes' character and what's going on with our young character's mother. It was kind of beautiful, but that wasn't the film that we were building up to in the first half. It was a completely different movie. I liked both movies. I liked the first half, rousing, adventurous, zombie-filled. When we finally get the song that was used in the trailer, that montage was pretty sick. Ultimately, there's a lot of great in here and a lot of beautiful moments. Choosing to film this with an iPhone, at first I was like, I don't know if I get this, and by the end I'm thinking, The style here is so distinct. Even if I don't love it, I'm enamored by it, and that's something. Not a lot of movies do that nowadays. Danny Boyle does a great job here. I don't think all of his movies are great, but I'm at least intrigued by every one of them. Alex Garland, I enjoy more of his films than a lot of people, I think. A lot of general audience members, but there are others that don't work. I just think the writing was a little up and down here, but I get what they were going for. They were shooting for the stars with this film, and I appreciate that. This movie intrigues me. I've thought about it a lot. I still have my issues with it, but at the end of the day, I am going 28 years later on the good tier. Maybe another viewing will help or hurt it.
Oh my god, I can't believe I let you talk me into this.
It's gonna be a great experience.
Yeah.
All right.
How about Dangerous Animals? This is a vehicle, pun intended, a boat, for Jai Courtney to showcase his talents. And yeah, Jai Courtney, right? This guy's a good actor. He's a better actor than a lot of people think. I loved his role in Suicide Squad. And I didn't love that first film, but I thought Captain Boomerang was by far, other than Harley Quinn, the best character in that movie. And I thoroughly enjoy his work when he's not the title in a lot of these action films that we see. This is his best role. I mean, he is so terrifying in this film because what he's doing is he's kidnapping these people, holding them hostage on this boat. He has his reasons, but we are with our main characters trying to escape. And yeah, it's a low budget, so the CGI is not great. And yeah, some of the thrills are ridiculous, the fact that these characters didn't die immediately. But if you're talking about a movie that keeps you on the edge of your seat, is way more thrilling than I expected, and does have a kooky character in Jai Courtney that keeps the entertainment coming all throughout this movie, you have a fun ride. It's not a film that goes overboard. Yeah, I did it again, pun intended, but it's one of those that does what it needs to do to keep you entertained. And the story, you roll your eyes several times throughout this. My wife was sitting next to me going, that was a little ridiculous. I'm thinking, I know it was ridiculous, but I was entertained, you know? And so it does what it needs to do. It does its job. And I'm going Dangerous Animals on the okay tier. Honestly, I kind of wanted to make it good, but it's definitely okay.
And the humble abode of the poorest billionaire in the gang. But this is exactly why I built Mountainhead.
Look at this place, Soups.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Mountainhead. This was an HBO or Max original movie from the creators of Succession, and so immediately I'm on board there. And the cast is stacked. Rami Youssef, Corey Michael Smith, Jason Schwartzman, Steve Carell. And it's basically a bunch of business guys, rich entrepreneurs, that get together in this mountain house and start to discuss, like, the financial decline of the world and a bunch of things about their wealth. And Steve Carell's character is dealing with something personally, and it's really a dialogue-heavy, storyless, not storyless, but not a big story here. There's a lot that this movie is trying to say and convey, and a little bit of a satire at points. Kind of a dark... It was marketed as a thriller, but it's really just spending time with these characters, and each of them have their own distinct personality, and I think the actors here are so good. They do convey good performances. I just wasn't really, spending this long of an amount of time with a bunch of just selfish tech billionaires, a film that has a lot to say on its surface, but ultimately when you start to dive in, it's just an unconvincing experiment or experience. And I did feel that, straight to TV type movie feeling at points throughout Mountainhead. And that's not what you want from Jesse Armstrong, because even with a show like Succession, there's that cinematic quality to it. And this is a movie, and it's trying to present itself as a film. I just I didn't care about these characters. And I understand you're not supposed to, but it's really a painful watch at times. And because of that, Mountainhead, while it's very well filmed, the script is kind of inventive at times. It ultimately kind of lands with a thud, and Jesse Armstrong really disappointed me.
I need help. Okay, let's get this off.
How about Echo Valley? Julianne Moore, Sydney Sweeney, Domhnall Gleeson, really good cast, man. And I thought this story had a little more to it than I originally thought it would. It's basically about this mother trying her best to deal with and take care of a daughter who is so caught up in the world of drugs, spending her time around bad people, getting caught up in the wrong stuff. And then towards the end of the film, we realize that she has to kind of clean up after her daughter's mistakes, but now she is sucked into this crazy story. And Domhnall Gleeson kind of plays this guy who hangs around, tries to frame her. It becomes a very intense story, and I thought the filmmaking here was actually quite good. I thoroughly enjoyed the dialogue, and I enjoyed the idea of this situation that Moore is in, trying to get herself out of it. But ultimately, the story isn't quite as inventive as it tries to be. It wants you to think that it's going somewhere you don't expect, but by the time we got to the end, I thought, oh, yeah, well, I saw that coming from a mile away. Not trying to give anything away, because you won't see where it goes in the beginning, but once you start getting there, you're like, oh, it's not as inventive as it thought it was. Now, as a straight-to-streaming Apple TV Plus movie, Echo Valley gets a lot right with its characters. Julianne Moore is giving a good performance. Sydney Sweeney is great. Everyone involved is great. I'm just not sure if this script had more to offer than just the surface-level thrills that it gives in this claustrophobic setting, with mostly a mother and a daughter. I somewhat enjoyed it. I thought it was okay, and so it's going on the okay tier, but it definitely could have been a lot worse. Filmmaking was great. Then we have Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme. I don't know what it is about his two out of his last three films I've just not been the biggest fan of. I don't dislike them. I believe they are quality. I think The Phoenician Scheme is a quality film with outstanding filmmaking visually. Obviously, the Wes Anderson style, it's become a little tropey, and we've come to expect it, especially over the last few weeks, going back and watching his older films, which I've been able to do. It does feel like he's just kind of soaked into that shtick, and he's trying to weasel himself out. And The Phoenician Scheme is interesting enough. Mia Thruppleton is awesome. Michael Cera feels like he should have always been in Wes Anderson movies, and Benicio del Toro is great. When we're spending time with those three before it becomes this series of going and visiting all of these businessmen, that was great, and I thoroughly enjoyed the beginning. Also a little violence in there, which was kind of quirky, fun, and cool, but then it becomes just a repetitive story. The idea of style over substance does begin to weigh heavy, and it was weighing on my mind, and I wasn't as invested. I know a lot of people didn't love Asteroid City, but at least the idea of that and what it was going for was far more interesting than what this ended up being, and the story became progressively less interesting as it went. But I still enjoyed the quirkiness of our characters. Benicio del Toro just weaseling his way out of death all throughout this film. And then what they're doing with the afterlife in this movie was actually quite cool. But ultimately, when it becomes more broad and it becomes a cameo fest, I didn't care as much. That being said, I still think the movie's okay, man. I know I'm talking smack about these okay movies, but there is enough there to warrant watching if you're a Wes Anderson fan.
You guys, tonight is gonna be the best bachelorette party ever because it was organized by my oldest friend, Sarah!
Let's talk about Bride Hard. Awful tier. Can't believe I wasted money on this shit.
Nothing over 20 BMI.
I don't want someone who likes cats.
I'm trying to settle.
I promise you're going to marry the love of your life.
So I'm going to give Materialists the benefit of the doubt. I think a lot of people are going into this expecting like a rom-com. And that's, honestly, the trailers built it up to be that. And that's a little disappointing from a marketing standpoint. You're trying to make Pascal just this heartthrob, and you got Chris Evans coming in. Oh, you got a love triangle going on, but it's not really that. And then this film becomes something else altogether when Dakota Johnson's faced with what's going on within her career, and that's devastating to her. And then this movie is ultimately something a lot different than what I expected. It's a rom-dram, not a rom-com. And that's okay. Celine Song did a fantastic job with Past Lives, one of the best movies of that year. And this is more like you're bringing in Hollywood stars. The story's a little different, a little more simplified, and it tries to go for something taking us back to the past, the first romance, all that stuff. That's fine and dandy, but ultimately you're in this for some of those amazing scenes between Evans and Johnson, between Pascal and Johnson. There's a great scene, really a whole sequence, where they're just sitting and having a conversation about romance, what it means to love someone, how it's messy and not what a lot of people expect. The material, it's called Materialists, the material element of what a relationship really is to a lot of people in 2025. Not that I'm the go-to guy on that, but I see a lot of relationships on my timeline. I'm just like, man, that's not what it's all about. And you can tell a lot of people struggle with that. And so this film does have something to say. I appreciate that. Really great performances across the board. And I liked it. It just fell short of expectations because it never gave me anything more than what I got. And the idea of the marketing selling it as something completely different is frustrating to a lot of people. Not to me, because I kind of knew what I was getting with Celine's song and A24 and all of this, but I liked this movie. Was I disappointed? And it's funny because a lot of these films on the good tier were kind of disappointments for me, but they're still good movies. And as a critic trying to judge that in my brain, it's a pretty tough task. That said, I'm going Materialists on the good tier. I do believe this is good, just a little disappointing.
Why are you here, Sonny?
And finally, it's F1. I got to review this very early. I loved this film, man. Holy smokes. Kaczynski's follow-up to Top Gun, and it lives up to the hype. This may very well be, and this is your tease for this upcoming weekend, the best movie of the year. I am torn between this and Sinners. Obviously, Sinners has a lot more thematic depth and a better script and all of that, but as an experience, F1, on a technical level, and just really enjoyable characters, enjoyable moments, the reason why you sign up, the reason why I signed up to be a movie critic and talk about how much I love movies and why I love movies, movies like F1 exemplify that. And that is, you can't ignore that as a film fan when something just hits all of those beats that you expect. It's not changed the game, but that's okay. It doesn't need to. When I talk about conventions and predictability, if these movies do other things well and make up for that, then it's fine. It's just a lot of the times when I'm judging a film, it's like, oh yeah, it had that, but it didn't really have anything else. And so F1, yeah, it's got a little bit of a predictable plot. It's the rough and tough guy who's been there and done that. He's got to take the young buck under his wing, and now they're going to race. There's a little bit of conflict, but ultimately they're a team, and so they got to act like it, daggone it. And that's the plot. And we've seen it. I mean, it's very reminiscent to Top Gun in a way, Top Gun Maverick, but I don't care. With the way this movie was directed, the characters, the plot, the camera angles, the technical achievement, the Hans Zimmer score, the sound design, the visuals, the seats rumbling. F1, the movie, is cinema. It's what Scorsese intended. Not necessarily, but it's in a way a film that just should and is and will continue to bring everyone out to the theater, and I'm so pumped we've got a movie like that in 2025. I love movies.
Gosh, I love movies.
And F1, you bet your ass is on the awesome tier. While you know how this list ends, let's do the build-up. Let's go ahead and rank these films. If you enjoy this tier list, drop that like. If you want more like it, we're going to do some fun rankings this weekend, next weekend, best of the year, best of the decade. Let me know what you think my list is going to be in the comments. I would appreciate that. And share this with your dog. Send it to their iPhones. At the bottom, it's Bride Hard. I should have talked more about this film, but frankly, I don't want to waste anyone's time. On the Megan tier, we know Megan has to rule the Megan tier, and so I'm going to keep it above Mountainhead. Mountainhead was it was kind of boring. At least Megan 2.0 had some fun. I'm going to put Wes Anderson one slot above Echo Valley with the Phoenician Scheme and keep Dangerous Animals at the top. I told you guys that one's close to the good tier. This was really tough. I'll tell you why. I'm going Elio at the bottom, followed by 28 Years Later, and then I think I enjoy just what Materialists was a bit more than that one. Austin, how dare you put the How to Train Your Dragon remake above these other good movies, but at the end of the day, the story is fantastic. And this version of that story did work extremely well. And frankly, I had a lot of fun with it. So I am going to put it at the top of the good tier. I know it's a cop-out because it's a full-on remake. Who cares? Who cares? K-pop, though, is great. I cannot believe I enjoyed that as much as I did. I'm going to say, I can't believe I'm doing this. I enjoyed Ballerina just a little more than Predator, and Ballerina is the biggest surprise of the month, by far. Just a kick-ass action movie. I mean, genuinely. But nothing will touch F1. Absolutely nothing. Sorry, I had to put my glasses on to see what I was ranking because my laptop's over there. But I'd love to know, what is your list? How would you rank these movies? What are your tiers? Am I a psychopath for not enjoying, what was that movie called again? Bride Wars? God, please, spare yourself. All right, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon.